Hey guys, it's Bad Snacks here. Today I have another jam track for you. In case you missed it, I've been collaborating with Spectrasonics with their new sonic extensions, and I've done a couple videos about the sonic extensions thus far, but today's jam track is going to be about Nylon Sky. It is the most realistic guitar VST that I've ever worked with, and the amount of detail in this is insane. All the way from how they recorded it to the two effects that come with the extension. It's really fun to work with. So today I have a little beat for you, and I'm going to be showing you how I incorporated Nylon Sky into it. And then after I make the jam track will be available for free download in the description below, and you guys can jam on it, rap on it, sing on it, remix it, whatever you want, and then submit it under the hashtag SESnacksTracks. There were a ton of submissions with the first one, and some of those will be featured in this video. Their submissions were amazing. And I'm super stoked to be doing this. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So I'm just opening this on the very first scene of the very first patch. And just like all the other sonic extensions, this one has a custom controls panel, and this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, is that there's just so much detail in every single nook and cranny of this. So you have your 3 different mics and the mix of those mics. We have a realism knob that kind of includes those realistic performance sounds like smacking the strings and some of the breathiness in that. We have some of these kind of velocity sensitive controls. And just as an example of how detailed this is, when we think of analog delays, we usually think about taking the signal and throwing it through, an algorithm that then modulates the delay, right? But this is actually sampling from the recorded analog delay, and that's what's being configured. So it's details like that that just make it extra realistic. It's like taking it that one step further. And then we have the reverb down here, and with every sonic extension there are 2 effects, and one of the effects that came with Nylon Sky is the sky verb. So we have the amount in clouds, and I'll show you how all of this sounds like. So this is just on the default setting, first scene, first patch. Sounds like this. If I turn the realism knob down, it's still pretty nicely recorded, but you hear the string smackings and even that little wee. And then you throw the analog delay in. Ooh. Let's throw some reverb clouds in. And that's just scene 1. This one's really cool because it has the shifted pitch. And I'm only going to go through a couple of the patches that I've just been really digging lately. This one's another one, the Nylon Sky guitar harmonics. This one is so beautiful. Let's go to tremolo for a second. And then there are also these really artsy patches like an Nylon Sky. Anyway, you kind of get the idea. There's just so much detail in every single one of these patches. So another thing that I love about Nylon Skies is that there are these built-in sequences. There are patches that have built-in patterns, and this is actually the one that I ended up using as kind of the core of the beat that I'm going over today. So you can change up the pattern here, you can change the length, and you can also change up the tone. So I was going with variation 1, let's just try different tones. And So we have our reverb controls down here as well. We could turn up the reverb, turn up the clouds, and then we make it sound super spacey. And you hear all the clouds afterwards. So if I go into custom controls here, the other thing too is that I can go into effects and then add all this fun stuff. So I'm actually going to kind of cross-pollinate here, I guess, between the unclean machine and the Nylon Sky. So I have the unclean channel. I'm going to make it sound just a little bit more vintage. And the Sky channel is also on here. I have the Sky channel on with the low cut. And if I take the low cut off, that mostly just means that you can hear the noise underneath. Like you can hear the smacking of the body of the guitar when you take the low cut off, which is really cool. So essentially this is the meat of the track. This is what I built the whole track around, is this particular patch. So here's the track at a glance. Let's just start with the drums, because the drums were actually fairly easy just because I was largely basing the pattern off of chopped up bits of this loop by Ryan James Carr, whose pack I will put in the description. I've been a little bit obsessed with his pack lately. I used it in the last video too. But anyway, this is what I chopped up from his pack. And then I reinforced it by manually importing some kick samples. This one's from a Monty Booker pack. And this one's just a little extra hi-hat from a Joe Corpeel pack, just to add some accent. And then we have a tiny hat kind of just to emphasize certain parts like this. Just like a little hi-hat fill thing. And then I reinforced the claps. It's a combination of Joe Corfield one-shots and then a one-shot from a Monty Booker pack. So then all together. So that's the rhythm that we're working with here. And the way that I mixed it, I just threw the good Hertz Wolf compressor on there on Old School Crunch. This is the setting I probably use the most, but I always kind of mess with it, so I put it at like half the dry wet mix. Put it at 70% lo-fi, 62% compression. And then this is an interesting plugin, the RX 950. Honestly, it just kind of gives a little extra zhuzh to the drums. Omari Jazz is the one that put me on to this plugin, and it works great for drums. It does make them sound extra smacky. So without these two plugins, kind of sounds like this. And then add in the good Hertz Wolf compressor. And then add in the RX 950. Yeah, it smacks. So now that we have our drums down, then I want to put my guitar down, and I have this Bailara Strummer. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. But I have it on pattern 1, tone 2, and like I was showing you earlier, I did put the unclaimed channel on here just to make it sound a little bit more lo-fi, and it sounds like this. So then the next thing that I did is I opened up this patch on Unclean Machine, and this one is called Kids of the 50s. I'm on scene 2, and I did a little bit of adjustment on it. I mostly just took the noise down. If you throw it in like this, get all this crazy noise, which is really, really cool, but I think just for the sake of keeping it not too busy, I wanted to keep it down. And I threw the modulation up a little bit. Echo is down and reverb is up, and it's on stereo. But we can also mess with the color knob. I wanted to keep it pretty mellow because what I'm doing is I'm just re-emphasizing the offbeats here. And then I want to add in my bass. And this one is one of my favorite bass patches in all of the new sonic extensions. This one is OB knock sub. I just have it on scene 1 and did a little bit of adjustment so we can mess with the harmonics. I wanted to keep it pretty mellow, but the shaper does add kind of a nice little bit of an envelope there. I shortened the release from what it originally was, and I can mess with the phaser here, as well as the chorus. So then that in context sounds like this. So then the next thing I did is I put in a lead, and I did it with 2 different patches, which is the Cheery CZ, which is also on Unclean Machine. So I have it on scene 3 and just did some adjustments here, just to kind of make it sound like a little bit nasally, like it'll cut through. I also layered it with Gentle Keys, and Gentle Keys scene 2 is a patch that I just keep going to because it just sounds so nice. And this one we can mess with the timbre as well. But I really love the softness of this one. And then put together, they sound like this. And then the very last thing that we do is we add strings, and I am mixing them with a little bit of the Good Hertz tube, which is like a tube tape combo, and then a little bit of Valhalla Vintage Verb. It sounds like this.
Got my tummy off track, but I'm backing up tracks, got my mind on stacks, yeah. Out here trying to stop the blood, but I'm barely put together when I leave my hood. Got lost for a minute, but that's a game in it. Even if I didn't mean it, I'll still be winning, jam still be spinning, even busy ain't winning, yo. I ain't a plaything, they got me so softly on those little heartstrings, kind of shit that sounds sweeter with the real violin. Got me tickling the keys and the keys kicking in.